Hello students! Welcome to our week 3 third quarter science lesson, and I'm your grade 10 science teacher, Mrs. Mary Joy Ives Camillas. The first lesson for today is about coordination of the nervous system and endocrine system to achieve homeostasis. Let's start our lesson about the nervous system. Nervous system controls and coordinates the activation of all your body parts. All actions and thoughts are coordinated with the different complex organs and nerves, which enables us to receive and respond to those stimuli. The nervous system is made up of two major parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is composed of brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is made up of nerves and sensory organs that go through the body. Let's take a look closer for these two basic parts of the nervous system. The central nervous system, or the CNS, referred to as central because it combines information from the entire body and coordinates activity across the whole organism. Since it composed of brain and a spinal cord, the brain plays a vital role in the control of most bodily function, including awareness, movement, sensation, thoughts, speech, and memory. The brain has three major parts: the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the brainstem. Cerebrum, or what we call forebrain, is the largest part of the brain and composed of the right and left hemisphere. It performs higher functions like interpreting touch, vision, and hearing as well as speech, reasoning, emotions, learning, and fine control of movement. Cerebellum is located under the cerebrum. Its function is to coordinate muscle movement, maintain posture, and balance. Brainstem acts as a release center connecting cerebrum and cerebellum to the spinal cord. It performs many automatic functions such as breathing, heart rate, body temp, wake and sleep cycle, digestion, sneezing, coughing, vomiting, and swallowing. The spinal cord comprises the cervical or neck thoracic, or the chest, and the lumbar for the lower back region. The spinal cord plays a vital role in various aspects of body functioning. Example of these key functions include carrying signals from the brain to the spinal cord, receive signals from the brain that control movement, and autonomic function carrying information to the brain. The peripheral nervous system, or the PNS, connects the central nervous system to the other parts of the body. The PNS consists of different types of nerves. The cranial nerves are nerves that are directly connected to the brain, and the spinal nerves, on the other hand, are nerves that are connected to the spinal cords, and those nerves are always go in pairs. The peripheral nervous system is divided into two, the somatic and the autonomic nervous system. Somatic is responsible for transmitting sensory information as well as for voluntary movement. This system contains two types of neurons: the motor, or the efferent neurons, and the sensory, or apparent neurons. Motor neurons allow us to take physical action in response to stimuli in the environment, while the sensory neurons allow us to take in sensory information and send it to the brain and spinal cord. Autonomic system is part of the peripheral nervous system that is responsible for regulating involuntary body functions such as blood flow, heartbeat, digestion, and breathing. Autonomic nervous system is divided into two branches. Those are parasympathetic and sympathetic system. Parasympathetic system help maintain normal body function and conserve physical resources, while sympathetic system regulates the flight and fight response that prepares the body to expand energy in response to environmental threats. Always remember that nervous system is the most vital system of your body. Its purpose is to coordinate and regulate all communication processes within your body. While the endocrine system is composed of many glands that secrete chemical messengers called hormones to blood vessels to regulate the different activities of your body. But have you ever wondered how nervous and endocrine works together? Nervous and endocrine works together because there is one particular part of the brain where nervous system and endocrine system shakes hands. This is the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is a small gland located at the base of your brain. It regulates the activity of your body, like metabolism and reproduction. In our experience, you sweat whenever you're feeling hot, and you cheer whenever you're feeling cold. This is your body mechanism to maintain balance. This is called homeostasis. So homeostasis is the maintenance of internal balance in our organism despite changes in the environment. And this mechanism is responsible for regulation and maintenance of the internal environment of our body. Homeostasis is attained through regulation of bodily function of endocrine and nervous system. And most body systems maintain homeostasis by using feedback mechanism. So feedback mechanism help keep those things balanced, what we call homeostasis. And those are negative feedback and positive feedback loop. So we have negative feedback is control system that reduces or even stop the body from producing change when favorable or stable conditions are met. While on the other hand, positive feedback is a control that causes the end products of an action to produce more of that action to occur in feedback loop. So here's an example of body that can regulate our temperature through the process of homeostasis. And we have different parts of feedback loop. It is important to know the parts of feedback loop. So the first one we have stimulus. It's something that interrupts the body homeostasis. If the body feels hot or feel cold and it exceeded to 37 degrees Celsius. The second one is the sensor, which detects the change in homeostasis. If you are too hot, the hypothalamus then can send signal out of your body via the nervous system that can cause various effects. And the third one is that effect is controlled in the third one, which is the control center, the part of the body that responds to the change and take action, which is the pituitary gland in the brain, is the control center. So once it sends signal to your skin that causes sweat glands to secrete sweat onto the surface of your skin. So that is the fourth stimuli, which is the fourth part of feedback, which is the effector, that any organ or cell that automatically responds to stimulus that can cause sweat glands to secrete onto the surface of your skin. And the fifth one is the response, which is the response from the effector balances out of the original stimulus to maintain homeostasis. The sweat itself is not cold, but it's work because it takes the heat away from your body in order to evaporate it. Now let's move on with our second lesson, which is the heredity, inheritance, and variation. So let's talk about DNA structure. DNA, or the deoxyribonucleic acid, is a nucleic acid that stores and transmits the genetic information from one generation or organism to the next. The building block of DNA is called nucleotides, and each nucleotides is composed of one phosphate group, the sugar deoxyribose, and one of the four bases, which are the adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. We also have RNA, or the ribonucleic acid. So like DNA, it is also a nucleic acid. However, RNA structure differs from DNA structure in three ways. So we have the first one is RNA is single strand, whereas DNA is double strand. Second is the sugar in RNA is ribose, while in DNA it is deoxyribose. And finally, both DNA and RNA contain 4 nitrogenous bases. But instead of thymine, RNA contains a similar base called uracil. And the uracil pairs with adenine. We have 3 types of RNA that helps in the building of proteins. We have the first one, the messenger RNA or the mRNA, which bring information from DNA in the nucleus to the protein manufacture area, which is the cytoplasm. And inside the cytoplasm, the mRNA becomes the template of information to make proteins. And the second type is ribosomal RNA or the rRNA. It holds tightly into the mRNA using its information to assemble the amino acid in correct order. And we have the third one, the transfer RNA or the tRNA. Supplies amino acid to the ribosome to assemble as protein. Now let's watch a video on how protein is made using information of DNA. Let's watch this.
Here is a cell, the basic unit of all living tissue. In most human cells, there is a structure called the nucleus. The nucleus contains the genome. In humans, the genome is split between 23 pairs of chromosomes. Each chromosome contains a long strand of DNA, tightly packaged around proteins called histones. Within the DNA are sections called genes. These genes contain the instructions for making proteins. When a gene is switched on, an enzyme called RNA polymerase attaches to the start of the gene. It moves along the DNA, making a strand of messenger RNA out of free bases in the nucleus. The DNA code determines the order in which the free bases are added to the messenger RNA. This process is called transcription. Before the messenger RNA can be used as a template for the production of proteins, it needs to be processed. This involves removing and adding sections of RNA. The messenger RNA then moves out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm. Protein factories in the cytoplasm, called ribosomes, bind to the messenger RNA. The ribosome reads the code in the messenger RNA to produce a chain made up of amino acids. There are 20 different types of amino acid. Transfer RNA molecules carry the amino acids to the ribosome. The messenger RNA is read 3 bases at a time. As each triplet is read, a transfer RNA delivers the corresponding amino acid. This is added to a growing chain of amino acids. Once the last amino acid has been added, the chain folds into a complex 3D shape to form the protein.
I hope you enjoy and learn a lot with our lesson for today. Thank you for listening, student. Till our next lesson, God bless us all.